All right, all right. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to both sides of the conversation. Of course, this is our Educational Thursday. I am your co-host, Mark Scott, joined by the amazing Io White. Io, say something to the people.
Good evening, community. Happy Thursday. We have an amazing show for you this evening. So get your notebooks out and get ready to take some notes on this great, informative, educational Thursday.
Absolutely. You definitely want to have your pen and paper handy to take some amazing notes. We're going to have a very informative educational Thursday. And of course, we hopefully will be joined here in a little while by the bishop himself, but we will stand in and hold it down for Mr. John Henry. But yeah, we will be getting into grant writing and the fundamentals of getting funding tonight. And our guest is going to be an amazing instructor with this program. So, before we get to our guests, we're going to go ahead and jump into our community news and events. So I will kick it off with the news headlines. And let's go ahead and get started. Our first headline in the world news: a mother warned police about her boyfriend. He shot her daughter, nephew, and himself weeks later. Story reads: New Mexico mother Vanessa Salgado felt stunned after her daughter revealed Salgado's longtime boyfriend had been molesting her for years. Well, weeks later, the boyfriend took out his revenge, killing Salgado's daughter, her nephew, and himself in the process. Absolutely tragic. And also in the news, what to know about the potential criminal charges Trump faces in special counsel's probe into 2020 election aftermath. Donald Trump's legal troubles deepened earlier this week when he was informed by special counsel Jack Smith that he's the target of the criminal investigation into the aftermath of the 2020 election. The letter, according to reports, cites three statutes that Trump could be charged with: one pertaining to deprivation of rights, two, the conspiracy to commit an offense against or defraud the United States, and three, tampering with witnesses. I tell you, he stays in hot water, doesn't he? Also in the news, police shared new details Wednesday on the case of Carly Russell, the Alabama woman who went missing for 48 hours after calling 911 to report a toddler walking alone on the side of the highway. Now, of course, this story has made international news. And at a news conference, the Hoover Police Chief Nick Derzis said the investigation continues, but authorities do not believe that there is a threat to the community. No one has reported a missing child, and investigators have found no evidence of one. The chief said detectives spoke briefly with Russell once, and they want to interview her again. And also, South Africa says arresting Putin would be declaration of war. Putin has been invited to a BRICS summit in Johannesburg next month, but is the target of an international criminal court arrest warrant. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa said that any attempt to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin would be a declaration of war with Russia and would undermine the South African led mission to end the war in Ukraine. And in lighter news, a Lego Fest is coming, Sacramento, and it promises tons of fun for all ages. The unique Lego Festival encourages everyone to create something from nothing. In fact, this is the largest Lego event in America and a nationally acclaimed festival. Brickfest Live will be coming to Safe Credit Union Convention Center on September 16th and 17th, 2023. And that will do it for the news. Go ahead and pass it over to you, Io, so you can give us our community events.
And now onto the events. Youth Speak is hosting Brave New Voices at the Youth Speaks International Poetry Slam Festival. There will be youth writing workshops and performances by artists and activists, July 20th through the 22nd. Clippers Not Clips is looking for transitional youth ages 16 to 25 who are interested in barbering and or cosmetology pre-apprenticeship. July 26, 2023, 2 p.m. until 7 p.m. at 4734 3rd Street, San Francisco. 3rd Street Friday Night Market. Support Black businesses. Shop local men's and women's wear, gift items, music, and fun. Vendors wanted. Every Friday in July from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at 1700 Yosemite, across from Cafe Envy. Mending the Mind. Join us in person to discuss digital health self-care at the LinkedIn office in San Francisco. Thursday, July 27th, 2023. Doors open at 9:30 p.m. 30 a.m. And the event starts at 10 a.m. Click Eventbrite link to register. The YMCA 90s theme Back on the Block Party and Resource Fair, July 28th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 1654 Sunnydale Avenue, San Francisco. Come out for the resources, music, food, and more. OMI Cultural Participation Projects Community Cleanup, July 29th at 9:30 a.m. adjacent 65 St. Charles Avenue in San Francisco. City College San Francisco Mission Office is offering a free 18-week certificate program with job placement services for office positions in the construction industry. Classes are August through December 2023 at 1125 Valencia Street, San Francisco. Police Community Partnerships is hosting Bayview National Night Out 2023, Kids Zone, Food Resources Fair, and more. August 1st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. There will be two locations, Bayview Opera House at 4705 3rd Street and Joseph Lee Rec Center at 1598 Oakdale Avenue. Terraville Police Station National Night Out 2023 is August 1st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Minnie and Lovey Ward Recreational Center, 650 Capitol Street. Join us for the evening filled with food, music, entertainment, and fun activities. Mo Magic will be hosting a backpack giveaway on August 5th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Ella Hill Hutch, 1050 McAllister Street, San Francisco. How about them apples? Cupcake Mingle Party, August 5th, 2023, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tickets are $50. For tickets, email howabouttemapples@yahoo.com. Sam Jordan's second annual block party, August 6th, 12 to 6 p.m., 1600 block of Galvez Street, Sam Jordan's Way. Live entertainment, kid zone, food vendors, and retail vendors. Black and Beautiful Family Reunion, August 5th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Bayview YMCA, 1601 Lane Street, San Francisco. They'll have free haircuts, music, free food, giveaways, and food trucks. B Magic will also be hosting a backpack giveaway on August 12th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Now Hunters Point, 165, I think that says 155, Jennings Street, San Francisco. Shears Beauty and Barbershop presents Back to School Explosion, August 12th, 2023, featuring a backpack giveaway, free haircuts, food, fun, family at 918 New Hall Street in San Francisco. Register at Eventbrite, link in the description. Summer 2023 Employment Workshop drop-ins and walk-ins are welcome. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. June 5th through August 17th, 55 Taylor Street in San Francisco. Code Tenderloin's 12-week Community Health Worker Certificate Program. Classes begin August 14th on Zoom, client-centered case working training, Monday through Thursdays, 5:30 to 8 p.m. Chillin' and Grillin', San Francisco District, 11, Sunday, August 20th, 2023, at Ocean View Park, 650 Capitol Avenue at Montana, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., free to the public, information with Maurice Rivers. Code Tenderloin Job Readiness Program, September 5th, 2023, at 222 2nd Street, San Francisco, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Orientation Friday, September 1st at 55 Taylor. Code Tenderloin is also hosting the free coding boot camp, September 6th through the 25th, Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 55 Taylor Street. New vaccination sites, COVID-19 booster for monkeypox antiviral pill treatment at 330 Ellis Street, Thursday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., as well as at 1221 Mission Street, Saturdays, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The San Francisco Justice Project presents the San Francisco Museum for All program. Free or $3 admissions to low-income families in San Francisco all summer long. The community living room now are open all day, Monday through Friday, breakfast 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and grab-a-go lunch at 2:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. at City Hope Cafe, 750 Ellis Street in San Francisco. Farmers Market located at the Southeast Community Center, 1550 Evans Avenue, San Francisco, every Thursday through November 30th, 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. They accept cash, debit, and EBT. OMI Cultural Participation Project, A Day at the Races, Saturday, August 26th, 11:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Golden Gate Fields Racetrack, Turf Club, 1100 East Shore Highway in Berkeley, California. Entry would be $100, and you can also contact Maurice Rivers. OMI Cultural Participation Project, The Wiz, Saturday, January 27th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. at the Golden Gate Theater, 1 Taylor. San Francisco Human Rights Commission has regular bi-monthly commission meetings on the second and fourth Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. in the San Francisco City Hall Room 416. You can also attend via Zoom. Would you like to promote your business, nonprofit, or community impact? Sign up for our Hidden Gems show. Share your expertise on our Educational Thursdays or be a panelist on our Sunday conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation's latest shows, community outreach events. Follow us on social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at bsotc.org. BSOTC welcomes individuals who are interested in giving back to the community to join us as volunteers. We value the positive impact volunteers can make and invite you to be a part of our mission to uplift and support the community. BSOTC kindly requests your invaluable support for our broadcast and community engagements endeavors. We cordially invite you to explore any of our donation links, as your generous contributions will greatly aid us enhancing our programming. We would like to take this time to acknowledge the Dream Keeper Initiative and its support for both sides of the conversations programming. The Dream Keeper Initiative amplifies the voices of and invest in San Francisco diverse Black communities to reform public safety and address structural inequalities to San Francisco. Visit www.dreamskeepsf.org to learn more. This Sunday's conversation, Sunday, July 23rd, how social media impacts adults' relationships. That's going to be a good one. Also, join us on Tuesday, July 25th for our Hidden Gem show.
All right. Thank you, Sister Ayo, for getting us through those community events. And yeah, this Sunday conversation is going to be a burner, how social media affects adult relationships. I don't know about you, community, but I am definitely excited about the Sunday conversation, but almost as excited as I am about the queen that we are going to have presenting on this evening. So let me go ahead and get set up because I want to do a proper introduction for this queen. Now, her name is Marthea Alley-Caliz, and she has over 20 years of experience working with nonprofits, communities, and government groups specializing in leadership development and compliance and sustainability. Her consulting services include executive coaching, team and board development, grant writing, and financial management. She believes in the power of people to transform communities with leadership roles at the Marriott Foundation and Resource Center for Nonprofit Management. She transitioned to local government, serving in senior roles in contracts and finance, data evaluation, and special projects management. Miss Alley-Caliz leads Community Connexus Consulting Services. That's a mouthful to say, and it's just almost as powerful as the information she has for us tonight. But she emphasizes leadership, team, and board development, and she wants to help meet organizational objectives. She holds a JD from Golden Gate University, and also has a BA in public administration from the University of California, Berkeley. Ms. Caliz is also a dedicated mother of two and volunteers for her church and community programs, especially those supporting our youth, foster youth, and the African American community development and the arts. So with all of that being said, please let's bring up Miss Marthea Alley-Caliz. How are you doing, Queen?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And I just want to thank you all for having me here today, Brother John, Angelique, the Dreamkeeper program, and you all as hosts for just welcoming me to this space. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it is an absolute honor and a privilege to have you here. And we don't want to hold back because we know you have a lot of wonderful information to give. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Please let the people know who you are and what you have to share.
Thank you. I will be sharing my screen. It should come up just a moment. And can you all see the screen? Wonderful. Okay. So thank you for the introduction. I'm Marthea Alley-Caliz, and he read my bio. The couple things I want to make sure people understand today, because I'm talking into computer, but I know our community is out there, and I know that it's important to make sure that we have practitioners in our community that relate to what we do. So I started off many years ago, I will say in high school, with the BSU, all the way to the state BSU in California, and those kinds of experiences in being in the community, being involved in church and with Black student organizing has really helped to set the platform for a lot of things that I still do and enjoy today. I'm just privileged to be able to do some of my purpose work at this stage in life. So I really focus on coaching nonprofit executives and making sure that they are well informed of the resources out there, and and making strategies at whatever phase they are at with their organization. There's many of us that are implementing new programs, and I think it's really critical to make sure that you have a guide, someone in your corner to talk to say, what is the strategy that's best for me, given that I'm managing a board, all these resources, grantors, funders, staff. Who do I talk to and really get support from in a very practical and strategic way? So that's the work that I love and support. And I'm very privileged to work with quite a couple of projects that I'm really enjoying right now. You can see us at communityconnexus.com. It's a small website. If you join our mailing list, then if you need extra resources or have some questions, we can follow up afterwards. Together, this is a safe space. They'll be open to put any questions in the chat. I believe we'll get to them towards the end, but we're always going to be balanced in our approach, even in the comments section. We always need safe space in our community to share our opinions and make sure that we're here to problem solve and come up with some agreements and positive resolutions whenever possible. So today, we're going to focus on grant writing and funding fundamentals. This is important. I want to make sure. So there might be some experts in the room. And so this should be review for you. Hopefully you get some nuggets also. Because I will be sharing from my experience where I started with the Marriott Foundation for people with disabilities years ago, right after college. And that was when you're working with the foundation, you are getting quite a bit of money. You're working from a fund that is operated off of the interest. So you really get to focus on, we have enough money. How do we have a really dynamic program? How do we make sure we're focused on outcomes and impact? And it's a very different, how do we build partnerships in the community with corporations that are very big name corporations, and then expand our services within a community and then to other communities. Very different conversations when you don't have enough money or you don't have that working capital just to get things off the ground. But I've also managed smaller nonprofits that if you didn't get that grant, you had to lay off some staff. It can be a very stressful environment. And so there's a lot on the shoulders of nonprofit executives, and nonprofits serve a critical role. So we're going to go over some fundamentals, just welcome you here to this space. In terms of, we're not doing introductions, but it's helpful to know who I think I'm talking to. And there will be people in the audience that are brand new and they've heard there's some grant money and I want to get it. And that might be all they know, and they showed up, and I'm hoping you get a lot out of this today. There's also people that are as smaller nonprofits or organizations or businesses or individuals and said, I've heard about it, I've looked into some of it, but I have some questions and I don't really know how to get started. No problem, you'll get something. And then various levels of nonprofit management. This is something, if you get something out of it, you can share with your team and have discussions on each and every section of it. And again, we'll take questions at the end. What we're going to cover, we'll start with the basics: who, what, when, where, why, and then we'll get deeply into how. How do we start our approach, and what are some of the strategies based on a grant solicitation, and what might your approach be? Let me just say, this kind of content can be a full day, a week-long course for 5 full days or more. easily. In fact, I used to do a 2-day full in-person training years ago with executives just to really get the basics down so that they came out feeling much stronger. So we'll move quickly, but write down your questions or put them in chat and we'll get going. So first, who can get funded? That's a big question because sometimes, and for the purposes of this, I'm going to focus on nonprofit organizations and nonprofits specifically with the 501c3 designation. That means they have applied for and received tax exempt status. And what that means is they're not here. Their main purpose is to serve the public and for charitable purposes. And that means it's not for private gain. It's not this, and it's different from a business in that a business is for the people that own the business. And those people can determine how they want to run the business. They can be competitive. They can make as much money or little money as they'd like. And as long as they pay their taxes and follow all the governing laws, they are just fine. For a nonprofit organization, there are a lot more rules because we've asked to be exempt from taxes. So yes, we will plan to receive funds, and these funds will then allow us to do our work. And then that work, we don't want to pay taxes on it because it's for the public. And this is for the good of society. Nonprofits were formed many years ago to help for public benefit. And that's why they get these write-offs and they get this status and this particular benefit because it's for the public. So a question that came up earlier was, can someone who has a private service get a grant? There are some grants for businesses. So you can look for grant-based business grants and startup funds. And sometimes more often I see them coming instead of actual grant money. It might be more through training and mentorship, things of that nature. So there are resources to help businesses. But for these purposes, we're talking about nonprofit organizations. And there is a caveat there. You can have a private-based entity that was originally designed under a private structure, however, is doing some good community work. And outside of it having the tax-exempt 501c3 status, it's still doing work, and the grant solicitation comes out, and I'm like, gosh, this seems to fit. We do this type of work. It benefits the community, and we meet the criteria except for that. And in that case, that agency can then work to find a fiscal sponsor. And a fiscal sponsor can be a nonprofit organization that has that same type of mission, and it's in alignment with that mission. And if they choose, they can partner with that nonprofit to apply for a grant. So that's pretty loaded, lots of details there. But in a sense, you must be a nonprofit for these types of grants that we're going to discuss tonight. What can be funded? Again, it would be services and or other resources that are for charitable purposes. So typically they're for the public. You can have target audiences, but very often when you go for grants, it's for everyone. And it'll be any type of government funding, for example, would be very clear on not focusing your services or having your services open to everyone, and making sure that your services are not discriminatory in nature and all that. So whenever you accept money from other entities, you are saying, we agree to abide by your rules. So what can be funded? Really, it's the funder who is saying, this is important to us, and therefore we are going to put funds in the community for these reasons. So what you want to do in that case is really know what you do well, what your mission is and what your vision is and what you stand for, and make sure that you're looking for funders that you're in alignment with. So some of the tips, I don't think this is on my tip sheet, but one of the tips is just to not chase funds, or you have to be careful about chasing funds. Sometimes you have to take some funds because that's what you can get in the beginning. But as much as possible, you really want to and need to be in alignment with your mission and vision, so that what a funder wants is not dictating your approach to that particular service. But sometimes there's a way to approach it. So you might have to put on your creative hat sometimes for that. So what can be funded? It's really whatever. There's so many things. They fund everything for children's services, for pets, for seniors, for mental health care, for resource development, for community development, for buildings. So many things are funded through grant funds. So just be sure to look it up. Don't think there aren't funds out there. Do your search. And when and where does the funding occur? This is more around the timeline. It happens all year long. But there are a couple key dates you want to know. Many foundations, it's sort of, I see trends around the fiscal year. So a fiscal year can be January to December, or very often July 1 through June 30th. And then for federal government in the fall. And so you will find that often if a funder has a fiscal year that starts July 1, that's when they open up their books and they say, our budget is based on funding 10 organizations at this amount for this next year, this next funding cycle. Then very often you will see, you look at, it takes maybe 4 months for them to put out a grant solicitation, give you a month to apply, and then evaluate the grant proposals, and then notify people and get started. So often 4 to 5 months, you will start seeing quite a few grant solicitations come up, and those showings are coming on the internet. And I say that because you want that calendar, you want to have everything ready before those grant applications come up. And so early in the year, February and March, you often get a lot of grant applications and solicitations coming up. So you want to be ready for those. You're researching them all year long to know when those are. Earmark them because they will come up and you want to be ready. And sometimes they don't have long windows. So they have to publicly post, especially if they're a government entity, publicly post any funding opportunities, and you just want to make sure that you are ready for those. So we'll talk about some of those strategies to be ready tonight. And where does it occur? These days, everything's pretty much on the internet. You can find them. It's not always easy. We're going to talk about that, how to find some of these. A lot of times you have to pay for different grant services. So when you're starting off, you don't want to pay quite a bit of money if you're just trying to find some beginning grants. So that's where it's good to sometimes hire someone but looking online. But we're going to talk about some strategies to research yourself and cut down on those initial costs when you're just trying to discover what is out there. Okay. And then why? I'm going to go through this quickly. Why do funders give? Why accept funding from others? And why strategize your funding approach? Why do funders give? Funders give because they usually have looked at some of the issues in society, and it's part of their mission and their purpose to address a particular type of issue. So funders, you want to look at the profile of the funder. Who is giving this money and why are they giving money? Were they just waiting for our organization to come along? Not necessarily, but they are looking for organizations that can help to address the typically social concerns that they've identified. So it's important to go into this knowing what you do, knowing what you offer, the areas that you are okay in expanding in, and looking for that alignment with why this funder wants to give. And if it's not in alignment, you just go to the next one. There are others out there. Funders will often have, especially the larger funders and foundations, will often have studies that they've conducted, often over years, and they summarize those studies, they post them, they have resources about them, because they put a lot of time, the larger ones, into saying, here's how we want to spend this money. These are the issues of today and the emerging issues, or issues that we want to address and remedy in society. And so this is how they're looking to invest into how to make something better, or how to address something, or how to get ahead of something and be innovative. So really get to know how your funders live. There's going to be three things that come up I want you to keep in your mind as we go through this. One is partnership. And a lot of times we think, I apply, I get it, and so on. But definitely for many foundations, they're looking for partnership, those people that align with their mission and vision, and there's some overlap with what you do. And then communication, how we communicate with the funder within our teams and in the planning phases is what's going to help us a lot. And the other thing is having a balanced approach to this. And we'll talk about what does that mean, not going too far, too deep, but getting informed along the way when we are utilizing resources and our time, because a lot of this can take a lot of resources. So number two, why accept funding from others? Well, it's expensive to run an organization. And it's one of the benefits of being a nonprofit organization that there are various forms of funding. And so when people believe it or not, a lot of people are really good. We hear on the news about all of the ills going on in society, but it usually makes up a very tiny percentage of the population, and it does affect us a lot. However, many people are good people and want to see the world a better place. They have good in their hearts. They give to people all the time, or they want to have something that they connect to. So there's different ways that people give, and there's through individual donations. There are different fundraising events that you can have. There's all kinds of ways, and funders also give. Sometimes it's in their best interests because they want to make sure that community knows that they're there. Well, go ahead. If it's in your alignment, we're here, and we will take those resources to help our community. And sometimes it is from a benevolent place. So whatever the reason, there's a lot of different reasons. So tap into that. Why strategize your funding approach? There's a couple ways of reasons why you want to strategize. I use that word a lot because it takes a lot of time to plan, and there should be a lot of thoughtfulness in your planning phases, and it should be ongoing and continuous. I'm going to go Ivan. I know we're going to take questions at the end, but since you just talked about it, we talked about having a balanced approach. How do we balance? A question in the chat says, how do we balance our mission and vision with those of the funders? That's a good one. It comes up often because our mission, for example, might be this comes up is where we want to focus on the African American community. And so that's our focus. Why? Because it could be for whatever reason you want. But statistically, in various settings, maybe in health, statistics show that certain types of illnesses affect the African American community more than others. So yes, we want to focus on African American community. Now, there can be pushback with that are you not serving others? And so on. And so you have to be really strategic in how you share your approach to focusing and why you focus on the African American community. There's almost always going to be the tagline that will not discriminate and so on. But just think of, let's switch it out. Let's switch out the population and say, we're going to focus on people with disabilities, with learning disabilities, because it affects them in childhood, it affects them as adults, and statistics show that they are more likely to experience X when they're older. So we'd like to address it early of children when they're learning. So we have to learn, especially as the African American community, to be able to talk about why we are focusing on our community. This is one example because just like if we were talking about someone with a learning disability, it's a focused community. We accept services. We provide services for anyone who walks in our door, right? We provide services for anyone who walks through our door. However, our focus is this target community for this reason. And tell your story. That's where storytelling comes in. Tell your story about why this is important. And you could say, we want to focus on the BIPOC community, the Black, Indigenous, people of color community. However, and that might be phase 2 or 3 down the line. It may not be. But we have to be able to take that balance. Now, it might mean that some funders think it's too narrow of a focus, and others might accept it. That's where talking to them, if you can, ahead of time and during Q&A period, getting to know them before grant solicitation comes out, and to say, our heart is just here, and we see where this need is, and this is what we want to happen, how we do that. I believe you're there for a mission and you're there for a reason, so do it. But but sometimes when it's very narrow, it may mean that there are less opportunities. So you just weigh the risk. So I hope that answered your question. Thank you for asking. So why strategize? The pros and cons. So some of the pros of why you need to strategize is grant funding can help support your program growth, your expansion, and or sustainability. And by sustainability, it means you've been around for a while, but you want to keep things going. Nonprofits go through phases. They come up, their services go down. We all know there were different organizations that we always used to hear about, and now we don't hear about them anymore, or their offices close up, or they move. And that means if they're not continually sort of evolving and growing, then it may there may be that kind of evolution. And you look at what's integral in your organization that you need to pay for and you can use help with to provide those services. Also, a positive is that grant funding can help support the coverage of administrative costs. So we focus, and funders focus on the program that you're going to implement for your constituents. However, there's often an allowance for, usually some I've been seeing mainly of 15% or so of, but it can definitely be higher, of administrative costs. And those are those costs that you just have as overhead to run your organization in and of itself. We can have long discussions about administrative costs, but when you have program costs and when you have, say, 3 different funders and they're all helping to chip in to the administrative costs, it really helps to pay for some of your overhead, which is very positive. Some of the cons: grant research, planning, writing, it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. And the resources are in time. They're in, because if you're spending your time doing that, you'll be doing something else. If you're paying someone, it can cost a lot. If you're hiring a staff person, it means they're doing that and not something else. But it's part of the investment to be in this particular realm. Some grant funds have more obligations than benefits. And this is where you have to say, what do we want to get? It has to be a win-win. What do we want or need to get from this funder? And sometimes, this is a hard one for people, but sometimes it's good to walk away, even if the money's on the table. Because you can take some money and some grants, and it may only pay for this one person. They say, we're only going to pay for one person. We are not paying any administrative costs. You can't bill for travel if there's travel involved. You can't bill for anything else, just their salary. Hopefully it pays for at least their benefits. But just to have one person there, you'd still need a desk. You still need a supervisor. You still need marketing and other things. And so sometimes it doesn't pay for itself. Then if you add on reporting requirements, you might have to buy a certain database and hire someone else to enter the data. It just depends. You really have to look at what all are you getting. Now, but that same grant for an organization that already has quite a bit of overhead covered, and then they have people in place, but it's like, gosh, it would really be good if we had someone, we have the people in the after school program and or our mentoring program, and they're doing great with the people, but we need more outreach and community connections so that when we're mentoring the youth, we have a place for them to go. We have those networks set up. So we need that outreach and engagement happening and bringing it back and making those linkages stronger, where so that same grant that wasn't good for one organization can now be the perfect supplement for another organization. So you just have to balance everything out. And again, some of the other considerations are, what does billing look like? Do you have the infrastructure if it's really complex billing process? If it's units of service that you're billing for and counting versus just regular invoices, if you need a lot of accounting for reimbursement contracts, then you have to weigh everything it's really asking you to do. So you think it through as you look through there. Okay. So now let's go to how to obtain nonprofit funding. 3 main steps. First, you want to identify and select the funding opportunities. Find the funders. 2, determine if it's a match. And then 3, prepare the grant application and submit. That's easy. 3 steps. That's all it takes. So I wish it was really that easy, but sometimes we have to keep our eyes on the prize at every step. And you need to know these are the big buckets. Where are we at? The first one is to get in the game. You have to know who's funding and who's funding what. Whether you pay for a service or you become part of a network with other organizations where you can share leads. There's some things to do to understand who is providing funding. There is nothing that I know of besides raw time that goes into finding the funding opportunities that are best for you or your organization. And so there's a lot to consider. So in here, I put a couple of stats. I was looking this week. I wanted to just look up a couple things for you. And I was looking up items this week, and I just found it to be a little bit harder. There's so much on the web, but most grant resources, you have to pay for the service. But what I found is some of them have listings. And if you want to dig deep, then you have to pay something. So maybe you can pay and it's worth your time. I'm not recommending any one thing, but what I did do is link a few items. This one I found was called Cause IQ, and they were listing and just telling us how many foundations are out there. So in the San Francisco Bay Area, we found that there's 2,915 foundations and grants. It's like, wow. Okay. And they have the listing of it. You can pay for it, or you can just look at the listing and then go and Google it yourself. Of course, you'll save a lot of time if you pay for it. So just weigh it. But then I said, let's drill down. 3,000. How do we make that a little bit more palatable to get started? There's nearly 300 grant-making public charity entities. It came from the same source. So you're able to drill down more. There's other places to drill down. And that link is available. So I'm not sure if someone's able to put that in the chat. If not, I could do it in a moment. And what you see is that here it lists all these different foundations. You just have to get to know them. How much do they give? How many organizations do they give to? And so on. So it just takes a lot of time. You have to identify. But this is the biggest tip I think I want to give for organizations. Start looking at, because this can be overwhelming, this step alone, because it's so much to look up and so much research. But find a few organizations in your area that are doing something similar to what you're doing. And often they have grants, and often they thank their funders that have done something similar. So if you run, I'll say, an after-school program or a healthy eating program, a wellness program, look up other wellness programs that are in California or your region. And see if they have funders that they're thanking, and then start going to those funder sites, because they obviously have some insight and we're able to get a grant from them. We're not trying to compete with everybody, but there's usually more need in the community. If they're giving, then they're giving to more than one agency. And so So that's one way to expand and do your grant research on a budget, and initially and then start reading and getting to know the field and the language and what the needs are. So that's some there. Sometimes one of the ways you can make money is or get funding is through fee for service. I put here to be cautious, because as a nonprofit organization, that means you can charge for some of your services. But the thing is, you're a nonprofit organization, so you must make sure that that mission, that what you're selling, and I don't even like to use the word selling. And I will say there's a fee, there's a program fee for X, or supplemented, or if you can accept a donation for it, and it should be in line with your mission. And if it's not in line with your mission, then what are you doing? What the IRS will say is you are actually acting more like a business, because you're selling this. And if you just sold this as a business, we would get taxes. So they don't allow you to act and operate like a business and get the majority of your income from sales, just as a business would, because then they would be owed their taxes. And there's a fair number of cases that are shown. And I don't know if you all remember, just in churches many years ago, they used to sell chicken and fish dinners at the church. And I love those. I don't know about you. I miss those. But as you saw, there was an abrupt ending to quite a few of those a number of years ago. And that was because there were some cases that said some churches were operating much more like a business. Because what did selling food in that way that was making money and have to do with their nonprofit religious purpose? And so when they did that, it's like, well, should they be paying taxes? So that was the question on the table. So it said, just, hey, stay in your lane. Even if you're a museum, for example, and you do nature tours, as long as what you're selling in the gift shop has to do with your tax exempt purpose, then you can sell it, because it's an educational item that's being provided at a reasonable price for the community, and you're allowed to do that. But if you start getting out of the realms of your mission, then that is a no-no. Okay, you don't want to do that. And that'd be fascinating. If y'all ever want to see some cases, we could start looking up some to see what not to do. There's good learning from there too. Then determine if there's a match. That's what we talked about. Brother Ivan, you spoke of, is this a match or not, with the funder's priorities and your mission, vision, and values. And then very early look up the minimum qualifications. It takes a lot of time to write the grants, to prepare for the grants, and you don't want to fully mobilize your team unless someone has looked at the minimum qualifications, or the MQs, you'll hear people say. Do you meet those qualifications, yes or no? Determine that really fast, and then go to the next one, or say, can we partner with somebody? Just because you don't doesn't mean that you can't naturally partner with someone and have a winning grant bid. Then practical funding, weigh the cost of everything. And we talked about that a moment ago. Number 3, prepare the grant application and submit. I can't tell you the number 1 rule that I ask people to do is read all instructions. It's really important. They're long. They take a lot of time. People often ask over the years, they'll want me to help, or my team, to write grant applications, and they just don't want to pay much. And what's clear is they haven't read even probably one full grant application, because if they did, they would appreciate the time that goes into reading the rules and becoming familiar with them. There's various lengths, but government ones are usually very long, many requirements, and you just need to know them over time. The more you do the same, look at the same type of grant, then it becomes quicker. But foundations usually aren't as long, but you still want to read what they're about, and that's how you understand your strategy in writing. As you're reading, this is just another tip, as you're reading the grant application, then take notes. I will often have execs who say, we want this grant, and there's some reasons we want it, and they'll read it. They just want their team members to read it and sort of glean the same things they did. always, you're already reading it, take some notes on what was important, highlight, focus that, hand it off to the next person. So you're saving time on what was important and what do you think your strategy is going to be. It does take teamwork. Start early and look at some of the things that take a little bit more time, like the attachments. You might need to get insurance quotes to update your insurance. You might need to develop partnerships or get letters of support. And so you don't want to wait to the last day to ask someone if they can write a letter or submit something, or if from a partner you need some information. So really look at all the attachments that are due, even while you write your grant, and determine, I need this from somebody else, so let me get this to them now while I write this, and so on. You usually have to draft some kind of skeleton outline so they know what they're writing about and if they support you in that or not. And then just learn and understand the submission process. If people are late, then oftentimes your grant application is just not accepted. And I've worked in government contracting, and you see people almost fall out on the ground when the door is locked and they could not submit their grant application, yet they paid a lot of money, many hours, staying up late, and they can't submit. So make sure you submit it on time. If you submit it electronically, mistakes happen. So make sure you get a read receipt or some kind of confirmation. You might need to do that earlier in the day or the day before, just to make sure that your grant application is at minimally submitted. And there are people that have submitted a little bit incomplete grant applications, or they didn't get everything in that they wanted, but because it was on time, they were considered and sometimes awarded. So just get it in and make sure it's in on time. Here's a listing of some foundations and funders in the Bay Area, Northern California. These are some of the larger foundations. I think if you're a smaller to mid-sized nonprofit, foundations are a good way to get your foot in the door. Some of your first grants can come from these because they are often looking for organizations that naturally have their hand in the community. And that's the other reason why funders want to partner with nonprofits, because you're in the community. You know what people are saying. You have the relationships in the community to make it happen in a way that their staff in a corporate office doesn't. And so they want to fund the people within the community that love that community and are vested in those kinds of ways. So these are some good ones to start looking into. They're sort of the larger ones, but it's you want to learn how foundations work. These are good ones to look up. Various types of grant solicitations. That means the funder has put out something. And I just want to give you some vocabulary. There can be an RFP, which is a request for proposal, an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications. That means they say, here, a request for proposal is propose to us what you're going to do. We want this. Tell us how you will do this and answer these questions. RFQ is, this is exactly what we need. We just need people that are qualified, that have this type of degree or this type of certification, have this much staff and this much insurance, and and this many years of experience. So tell us who's qualified and we'll pick from that list, or we'll pull an opening list, people that are qualified. So as we have needs, we know who we can start to negotiate with. There could be for RFQ versus an MOU, memorandum of understanding. If they just ask you, sometimes foundations, I'm seeing more and more where they see the work and they see people who are doing the work, and you can get invited. So that's where relationship building comes in. You can get invited to submit a grant, and then they might have a memorandum of understanding or contract with you, and so on, or become part of a qualifying list. So those are some types. There's many other types, but those are just some. Just want you to know that not everything will say a grant. And years ago, a grant was literally just grant money that you received, and you can apply it to your program. These days, often we're really dealing with a contract. It might call a grant solicitation or grant-based program, but if it's through the city or county or federal state government, for example, you're going through the contracts unit and you're being set up as a vendor with their government contracts, even though it's for their community-based programs. So just know that you're really doing contracting, and some contracts can be reimbursement contracts, like you pay out, so you need to have enough money in the bank to say before until you get reimbursed to pay staff and pay for services. I see less and less of those, but or sometimes you pay by the unit, and then you bill that particular funder, and then you get paid. And then sometimes there's a set amount, and it's you put in your monthly report, and that set amount per month is what you can bill for. This all depends how you write the grant, how you build the budget, and those funders' rules. Okay. How do you submit it? It can be submitted through government systems. So sometimes there's data systems, and you need to make an account, log in, learn the system. Some systems save your work, others don't. You have to go in at one time and get everything in there, or else you have to start back over again. So just a tip is I put everything on a Word document and make sure I have it, so that if that system crashes and it didn't save my work, that I have my own copy on the side. I just don't trust other systems, and it's saved me a number of times. Sometimes there's email submission, so just make sure all the emails are working and that you test it ahead of time and get confirmation. Sometimes when you set up your profile in one system, like say for the state, for example, once you're registered as a state vendor and they have all kinds of requirements, then you can then talk. Once you're with the state, then it's easier once you go through that first step to then just apply for this specific grant and talk about how you're going to meet those grant qualifications. So just part of your strategy and time. We think government grants from the Department of Labor is good for us and our work-based programs. So therefore, and then maybe through Department of Justice, if we're working with those involved in the criminal justice system. So it might be, so feel it'd be worth your time than to get set up in federal government registry or with certain departments. I pulled here, we can come back to this if you want later, but I pulled some sample grant applications. They just range. When you look at them, San Francisco Foundation is very much telling a story. They love the San Francisco area, but I could not find a full list of who they fund. So you have to get to know them, be on their newsletters and talk and just see some of their highlights. But I didn't see the full list, but they fund more than I could find. So this is part of your research on who are your funders. And then these are just some examples. The East Bay Community Foundation, they typically fund by invite. So very much you want to get to know what they're about. Make sure you sign up for their newsletters. But they do have scholarships where they didn't have a grant listing. They have scholarships available, and those are interesting. Quite a few for high school students. So might have missed some, but we all know high school students every year that come around. So those were worth flipping through. The Robert Stewart, this is a smaller Odell fund. And I put this one here because it's through Wells Fargo. And I hadn't seen that before, but it makes sense where it's a family fund. They often have people have a lot of money and they say, we want to go to the community, but we don't want to run an organization. They will partner with some other organization to run the grant solicitations for them. So that one's for Wells Fargo. I believe it's for youth in the San Francisco area, those types of programs serving youth. And they give about 50 grants out per year. And they're from 10,000, I think it was, to 25,000, if I remember. And so why not? You fill it out. I don't know if you even have anybody to talk to, but that's more of a put in the online application and wait and see. But also, if you can look and see who have they funded in the past, that's going to educate you. Oh, do you fall in line? Might you be the type of organization that they're looking for? I'll let you know. And then what I liked about the Cisco Community Impact Grant was that it was very concise. It was just a small organization. They gave you an overview of who they fund, what their initiatives are. And they did an eligibility quiz, because that means they don't want to waste your time or theirs. And often funders get people who really aren't qualified. So they wanted you to self-select in or out. And that's another thing you can search our funding or grant eligibility quiz 2023, California, San Francisco. See what comes up. And that might be people who want to have a streamlined grant application process, that's helping you also. Another way to find some grants. Last here, the San Francisco Community Challenge grants. That's just an example. And then just the general contracting office for the city and county of San Francisco. Just knowing that it's a deal, it's a thing to go and become a vendor. There's a lot of paperwork. So I tell everyone, if you are you're a teacher, you're a baker, you have this something you want to do, make sure you really love it, and decide and make sure you have a team that can help you with all the administrative paperwork that has to happen if you're not able to do it yourself. Okay. And are you aware of any? I do see something. Are we aware of any community redevelopment grants for the minority population? I haven't researched that, so I can't. Thanks for the feedback. I haven't researched that, so I can't speak to that. But I'm hoping we can get this transcript of questions, and I don't mind doing some research. I'm not catching all of the comments, so any that I can't get to, please. Part we need. Okay. Please make sure that we can look at these in a little bit, and that we get to it at the end. Some vendors are under compliance audits. I'm not sure what that means, but I do want to speak to that because that's how I learned a lot of my what to do, is by helping people that were in audits. It means some of the compliance audits, and compliance can mean a lot of things. There's compliance with your nonprofit organization. So this speaks to that administrative arm of what you're doing. It's just have a strong base from the beginning. And if you work with a fiscal sponsor, ask them these questions as well. Have they filed, just like you have to file taxes for an individual, they have to file something called the 1099 every year. So have they filed that? Have they filed with the Registry of Charitable Trusts? Are they in good standing with all the legal entities? How are they doing with their bank accounts and their cash flow? Do they pay people on time? So if they're helping to manage your money or something, or you're doing that, these are really good questions. So you have to look. Sometimes they say, we need this money in our community, but we have to be prepared and we have to be ready to be responsible in a lot of ways. So some good questions here. So preparing for your grant applications, these are some of the components. The funders, the first two are the grant application and the budget. Funders are always going to ask, is there, here's a grant application and the questions we're asking you. That gives them the advantage to say, this is what we want. And so you, applicant, tell us what you can do to meet these needs in the community. Okay, and that's what they use to screen and score. They sometimes will tell you how they weight different sections. And then the budget is, they usually give you their template and the budget, and they're screening for a couple of things, which is reasonableness of costs. So if you're a small nonprofit and say you only have $200,000 annual budget, and then the ED makes half of that in their salary, they might say, is that reasonable for that size of an organization? 50% is going towards one person. Or should it be less? So they're looking for your cost to be reasonable, whatever it is. But now I say, there's always a but. This is because maybe they make that, but they have been very strategic at getting over, so it's all how you tell your story, at getting over $600,000 of in-kind support. They got free rent. They got free this. They got free services. They're running a volunteer team of this and that. Well, why shouldn't they make that? What other CEO can do that? And they didn't even have the money. That means they have some community mobilizing power to do that. But so you look at the template, and there's also the budget justification. You must look at how you look on paper and tell your story, and don't leave it to them to figure out why a certain percentage of something is going to something. Make sure you say it. From this budget, it may look like this. However, these are our raw dollars, and this is our in-kind, and it goes from this. And we believe the investment in leadership is strong here and is the best investment to make sure that we can get what we need moving forward through the strategic plan. Okay, so you see how it comes in like, oh, this looks bad. Do we make a decision? Let's cut down the salary. Yes and no. Yes and no. What does it look like overall? What's the context and how do you tell that story? And then balancing your program and admin costs. Things that our organizations, I want us to focus on more is the plan before you come to the table, which is the program plan, outcomes and impact. How do you make a difference? And this is where data and tracking and technical systems come in. Do you track your data? Have you collected stories? What can you show you're doing that's making a difference in the community? And for outcomes, outcomes are usually in a couple of categories. Are you making a change in skills or knowledge, in behavior, in attitudes and perceptions? That's a little harder to evaluate and more expensive. Are you helping to increase access in resources that weren't there before, or develop some capacity or infrastructure? So you have to be able to measure. Before we started, it was like this. But now that, or if you give us the money, or what we've done in the past, once we had this investment of funds, we were able to do this. And this is what it looks like. So you have to be masterful at telling that story. Capacity enhancement plans, it's your infrastructure. Make sure you are building into your grant writing the infrastructure that happens as well. Okay, very good. And community redevelopment grants. I'm going to come back to that one. I will look that up. Mr. Payne, nice to have you here. Community redevelopment grants. And community redevelopment grants, I might be assuming that you're talking about buildings, tangible assets in that way. Sometimes I don't see it as much, but that might be more of a county or a city that has a need in a very specific area. For example, sometimes I haven't personally seen a lot for ownership, but sometimes a county, for example, or city might invest in a building that is there and owned by the city, and they might give a very long lease for a very small amount of money to an organization. I haven't seen them purchase, but sometimes they will allow it to be purchased, but I really haven't seen that in recent years. Rarely. But they often, I've seen more often where they'll take a county building, and because rent and lease is so expensive, they will commit it to having very reasonably priced rent or without rent or in-kind services for community-based organizations. And they might lease it out or have that space for multiple organizations. And it's a great cost savings. So if you don't have to pay out $3,000 to $5,000 a month for a small space or more, then that can be great savings that can go towards your services. And so here we go. We'll go to the next slide. Now, some of the standard grant application components. I'm going to go through these quickly. There's executive summary, overview, organizational history, and your capabilities. Needs, and they may not say capabilities, but when they say what's your organizational history, they want to know, have you done this before, and are you set up and capable for doing this service or this task that they're proposing. What's the need statement? Is there a need? Sometimes they lay out what the need is in general, say maternal health outcomes, that women are African American women are passing away more during birth than others. They've stated what the need is, but in your need statement, you don't only reiterate what they said, you're confirming that, and then you're saying, and in this area, and in this hospital, or with this target population specifically, we're seeing this. Who has more or less access to care, who knows about it, or what's in place currently, what's the need in that particular region or community. So you want to specify that you understand what the need is. What is your program plan? And see, when people hire grant writers, they're not just writing something because they're a good writer. They are designing your program. So I can't stress this point enough. stay involved. If you are the director, if you're the manager, if you're hiring someone from the outside to write for you, which is good to do sometimes because this takes a lot of skill and talent, keep your finger on every part of that because they are investing their time to represent you and what you look like. It's like if someone's writing your resume, they don't know you. And they may not come with the heart. I think you can always sort of feel the heart in the writing of what is great about that organization and what we plan to do. Also, make sure this is where communication comes in, that you're communicating with your team. So don't have an outside consultant writing your agency plans and they haven't talked to the team that's implementing that. And that's it's good to get the money, but gosh, sometimes you read it and say, who wrote this? How can we do this? And they didn't ask for this or that. So that's happened before. So don't avoid that. Evaluation and outcomes plan and the outcomes and impact that you plan to have. What is your program budget? I should have put there, and your justification per line item. And then any appendices or attachments that are needed, insurance, letters of support. Sometimes they will allow you to give things. So I'll put pictures up there in a second. I want you to see the families that we're serving. I want you to see people meeting and convening. I want you to see the buildings that we were able to put people in and have grand openings for. So those kinds of things, use all the media that you can. Put your links in there in case they click on them so that all that's working for you. This is detailed. The goal is to be able to have this PDF available for you. So I just put some nuggets in here regarding each section, some tips. So executive summary, it's a brief introduction. I usually skeleton out, here's what I think I'm going to write about, and I go through all the questions. And then at the end, I circle back around and make sure I now very concisely summarize pretty much the main point in each of the sections below. What was the need? How we plan to fill it through ABC. We're going to have this type of impact and outcomes that will serve not only this year, but for years to come. Here's our program budget. If there's any concerns with the budget, I put it in there too, that here's the budget and it may seem like this, but here's why it's a good investment. And then, and we're in compliance with everything needed for this. Needs statement, we talked about that. Their unique challenges, really state how you are positioned to meet those needs. Equity and access are big right now. And thankfully, the discussion's opening up that how are our services different? It's not just to serve everybody in the community. Why do you have this tutoring? Why do you have after-school program? How are people here? How does your after-school program meet the needs not only of the youth, but of the families that you serve? Many of the families need support in making sure their kids are in a safe place while they look for work and manage all the different multitudes of things that are happening to them. And why do you need extra staffing? Well, it's because we may live in an area where there's more trauma in this area. And that's why we're asking for not only tutors or interns, but we want certified teachers that can work with our population is likely to have more learning issues or home life issues. And if that is happening, we want the resources to address those. We want it to be the safest place that they can be after school when they come out into an educational and learning environment. So program plan, outreach, and communication strategy. Really talk about, here's what we're going to do, but how are you going to reach the people? What communication? Who are your target audiences? I'm just really big on visuals. Please use headings. As you see, I could have wrote all of this as a whole long paragraph. And even funders get tired of reading everything. Even if they don't give you space for headings, make a heading and a space, and then so that there is no room for error. They know you answered every question, and you're making your headings very descriptive. The needs of our target population, how we meet the needs of our target population, our proactive program plan, impacts at work, evaluation tools and strategies, investing in the community. Really have these headings. So if you skim through mine, we don't know who those readers are. If you skim through my grant application, I'm trying to sell you all the way across. And the first line should be a topic sentence that tells the story in case they're skimming at the last minute. Okay. And then it goes into details after that. Program budget, justification, reasonableness. But if you, but ask for what you need. We deserve good salaries, and tell them why you need good salaries. We live in one of the most expensive places, in the nation. And we have to have good people to stabilize our staff that have that equity lens, that have that cultural relevance lens. And we want to get good people and keep good people here in our community. They shouldn't have to go outside to work, and it should be people that look like our target populations that we can hire here. And if some of them come and they don't have the training, we want them to have the training. So we're asking for the additional to make sure we have a budget for training as well. Okay. So ask for what you need, but explain it. Sell your story and what you need. So final tips, be prepared. Already have your all your standard information. Take any sample grant application, say that's due next year, or the grant application just passed, write it. You and your team write it, talk about it, edit it, so that you have it and you know what works for you. Because sometimes you get these funders and sometimes they'll say you have, 1,000 characters to tell the whole story of your organization. So you'll need to take your real organizational overview and pare it down, but you got to know it first. So you know what these are the core nuggets, how to get it in there. That sometimes we'll take characters and say you have 30,000 characters or this page to write about your program plan, and only but you really need 2 pages to run your program plan. So look at other places where you have space. They had no page limit on the budget justification. So guess where I'm putting in the extra detail that I didn't get in when I had to shut it down. So that's where you need to know what you need to say. Say they might question this, but I can fit it in over here. And so that's a way to strategize. Have dedicated staff, but be involved at every level. We talked about that. If you pay for grant research, be sure to collect, create, and track and chart the funders and the timelines. Those application dates will come up quicker than next year. So you want to be ready for those. When hiring grant staff, consultants, please ask the right questions. People come to me often and say, we hired a grant writer and we paid them this money and it wasn't a good application. Well, first of all, there's no guarantee that you're going to get it, but you have to have the investment in whether it's your time or someone else's. And once you have it, at least you have the tools that you can start building on it. So it's as long as you get it. But very often, those same directors don't have a copy of their grants. They didn't ask for it. They were paying and not making sure to get it. So get it along the way. Treat it like any other staff person. Say, here's how we're going to do like an outline by this date. Make sure they give you an outline and timeline and a deliverable date. Meet at least weekly with them or more, depending on your timeline, and make sure you get copies of that. If people get sick, they have family obligations that come up. So have everything that you need access to, so you can take it. You paid for it, so make sure you have it and can build off of it. Make sure you have the right people at the table. And I put some sample questions there to ask them. This is an important one. Some people say that, I have a portfolio and I've got all these grants. And some of them have gotten a lot of grants. I used to work for a government unit, and but it's different. This one, my point is, it's different when you write from scratch. And some of you have brand new organizations, or you don't have, or you're growing your organization, which is sort of like brand new writing again. So someone needs to be able to take your brand new and bring it to life. That is different from taking a template that someone else developed and all the strategies and all the research, and then saying you won all these grant awards. And so I asked the question, what have you written from scratch? And have any of those gotten awarded? But even just if they haven't gotten awarded, what have you written from scratch is a better deal, because they can develop that program for you. They probably have that. You're hoping that they have the program. Ask to see it, read it, and see if it's something you can do. And then say, well, if you collaborated with someone else, which parts did you write? Which parts did they write? There's things that I wrote years ago, and those organizations are still using. I couldn't believe. I'm like, it's been 7-8 years and you're still using some of the same research I researched years ago, and the language. So it's a good investment. And if you get it done right at the beginning, you can still use it and then build on it over time. Pay in increments, get your information. Have a balanced strategic targeted funding opportunities. Balance that with volume. Are you just trying to throw everything out there, or are you trying to just get a targeted few? If you get a targeted few, maybe you didn't reach out enough. So just balance it out. Keep applying. The smaller grants do add up, and you learn from the smaller grants what to do and what not to do. This is where your board can help you, advisors can help you, consultants can help you, but work with teams and make sure you're managing and learning along the way. And then one of the Covey habits is begin with the end in mind. For long-term partnerships, you want to look at, we're here in the community, we're here long-term, we're not going anywhere. This is what we do, this is what we do well. So who else, which other funders believe in that too, that you can partner with and get to know them? Go to their workshops, ask for a 30-minute meeting to tell them what you're doing, get on their newsletter and talk about it so that you know, and make those partnerships work, because we need your services. We need our communities to improve. And so I just want to thank everyone for the time that they've been putting in, and don't give up. I think that's it. Yeah. Are there any questions, any comments in the chat? Or hi, John.
Hello, how you doing, Miss Marthea?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to have you here.
You.
Great information, giving the community the sauce.
Yeah.
You know, it's taken me 3 years to get this information. So, community, you have been blessed tonight, okay? And I'm just honored to have you here in space. You know, somebody tried to take me out today. I got rear-ended today, but I'm here, okay? It happens, community. But Marthea, happy to have you on the platform. The community loves you, okay? I already got people emailing, how do I connect with us? So we got to make sure we get your community connect information up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But just happy to have you here, blessing the community with this information again. Not only the level of expertise and professionalism that you bring to the work, but your favor, because you know there's a lot of people in this work when it comes to information, something about Black organizations, community organizations. You know, people want to hold on to information. They don't want to share. And it's always great to have someone like you who are really about uplifting the people community. Let me tell you, Marthea is about the people, okay? She's about uplifting people, okay? She's not here to hold the sauce. Y'all see she been cooking in there. I was like, go on, cook.
There is some love. There you go.
No, definitely that love was shown tonight. So just wanted to say thank you. And you know, one of the things that I appreciate when you're talking about the development is I said Marthea must have been listening to our relationship coach. You talk about multiplying, you know, multiplying everything. You know, we need some multipliers out there in the community. But it's great to have those you know, in detailed information that you give out about grant writers. A lot of times you know, folks do spend a lot of money investing in writers and they don't get the awards. And again, having this information will definitely help some folks in the community to really plan and be strategic, because a lot of these important questions to a grant writer is needed if they don't know you. And I think all of the tips that you gave out to community tonight was well worth it. Community, I hope you absorb this, okay? I hope y'all was the sponge that y'all needed to be, because she's been showering us, okay, with the favor, blessings us, just all that juicy water coming down that we need to grow. And again, I know somebody's out there impacted. But one of the things that I wanted to ask, you know, when you from your experience seeing this type of work, with all the changes that's happening across the country right now,
Yeah.
when it comes to nonprofits, grant writing, and going after funding. One of the challenges, and I was so thankful for you putting out some of the foundations, because that was like one of the challenges. How do you connect with these foundations? What are they looking for? And then really talking about partnership. One of the things that I'm all about here is uplifting Black folks, brown folks, community folks, working together, being in solidarity. But when you really get out there in the community, it is a challenge for community organizations to really understand what partnership is and how to work with each other and leverage each other in a way that everybody can win. So can you talk about, some of that? Because I heard you get a little bit into it, but how important is it to work together, and how important it is really to leverage off each individual organization and what they bring to the table to really help not impact the grant, but the community as a whole?
That's a really good question. I've heard over the years a lot of negative things about African American, Black community not working together. And we have to come from a different perspective. So a lot of things is our approach. So if our approach comes from there's not enough, there's a lack of, I got to get mine before you get yours. I can't tell you how many people I have given information to over the years, and they'll know what I'm doing, but won't share it back with me. Let me know when there's a funding source out there. For years, I had newsletters going out with different funders, but when it was time, it's like everybody's holding it for themselves. There's but sometimes people would share with me. I said, thank you, I really appreciate that. So when that comes, put it out there that this is what we have to come from, an approach that the more we grow each other, that the better and stronger we will be. But we have to act on that as well. And so it's going to take us really having those meetings together, where in those convenings. And I thank you for having forums like this. We can have more regular ones with nonprofits. I'm getting of that age where I just want to make sure we are convening together, because we do need more of this. Years ago, I ran an organization called the Research Center for Nonprofit Management. And it was just for that reason, for Riverside and San Bernardino counties. And to convene nonprofit organizations together was very powerful, just for the purpose of saying, we are nonprofits, we're here, we have this, and how do we get the resources that we need? So we just have to start creating those forums and not wait for others to do that. And then also coming together and putting our norms and our values on the table with each other, and building up with those. Sometimes it's one-on-one, but I do think when you reach out with one person that's a good person, it starts spreading. It starts spreading fast. And this is nonprofit is a field where it's really public. It's the old-fashioned public marketplace, where your reputation is really important. It's important how you work together, how you don't work together. It's one of the reasons they ask for letters of support, because who are you writing a letter of support for, and why? What is that person's rank in the community? Who's on your board and why? Who is really good at saying, we believe in you and here's what we do? And it's why that first public test for nonprofits is getting your board of directors together. Because you want someone reputable in the finance field, ideally, reputable in governance, reputable in that service field. And if those executives, professors, CEOs are saying, we hear ye to the world, we will stand up for John and his organization because we believe in what he's doing. They're going to put their names and their reputations behind you. That's the first thing. So you start with that group. That's where the board comes in place. It's the first set of, can you inspire these people with this common mission and vision to say, we want to do this? And that's where your board and size of board is an interesting thing, but I don't think they need to be too big just for a number of reasons, but also not too small for some number of reasons. But you can also have a circle of mentors and community supporters. I had a mentor years ago. I've had mentoring since like 20, 30 years. And one thing I've learned is sometimes I had to just ask for people to support me and say, I'm at this stage. I'm doing okay. I think I know what I'm doing, but I have some big challenges ahead of me. Will you be part of my circle of support? And you'd be amazed at the number of people that are really busy, but they're the busiest people are usually the best people because they're busy doing something. But when they believe in what you're doing and they believe in you and you keep them up to date, they will take the time to support you or mentor you or guide you. Even if it's just looking at your newsletters and saying, hey, you might want to do this or not do that. Hey, I have somebody for you or something, or being a reoccurring donor. So it's there. I think we just have to put it out there and just say, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for partners who I can partner with. And I'm bringing this to you. Brother John, you're bringing so much to the community. You put it out there and just say, hey, you guys bring it to us. We want some donors. We want some donations. We want some leads to develop our staff or to do whatever else. Put it out there and ask for it. And when you're doing good in the community, I fully believe it'll come back to you.
Wow, I'm glad you said that because I was feeling a little left out, okay? I'm doing all this work for the community, and I'm still standing in the middle of Market Street with cardboard boxes asking people to donate to me and help support me. I can't get my, funders and all these philanthropists to support the work we do. But I'm glad you said that because, we have a problem with reciprocity in our community. Mm-hmm. And, you try to help folks and folks don't want to help for you. And it is not all. There's a lot of great things happening, but, trying to keep us out of the crab in a barrel mentality or you getting bigger than me, those are some of the things definitely that we want to change, but definitely getting our funders and some of the foundations to really understand the dynamics of the community, the cost to run and do some of this programming and the support service that is needed. I just say, when I hear this information from you, it just always enlightens me. It keeps me going. And this is why this is my passion to continue to just bring information and resources to our community, continue to engage in our community, to uplift it because it's not enough of it. But it starts with folks like you having that passion, caring, and just trying to make sure we do it right. And there's nothing wrong with asking. So I'll keep asking. I'm never too big to get new information every day, but I'm going to keep knocking on their doors, okay? All of you funders out there watching tonight, okay? I'm knocking on your door. Help the bishop out, okay? I need some support. I want to bless the people too, okay?
We need that, and I hope you are able to put a donation link in your chat also, because anytime we have it, and what's the donation do? I want you to know the power of donations. When funders see that you have individual people from the community that donate $5 a month, $10 a month, $7 a month. First of all, it adds up, okay? It really adds up, but it also says, hey, I can't do much, but if I'm going to take the time to enter my card information to say, I believe in what Brother John is doing here. It's important to me. They bring a lot of resources to the community. And for every one person that does that is saying to a funder that this is a public person, that there's a person, a real life person that says, this means something to me. So when you can say, we have this many donors, we got this many donations, please everybody know that your $1, $2, $3, they all add up because it's our voice speaking. Speaking of which, I still go to the NAACP. Just keep it. Just stop going to Starbucks once a week, and you can give to a couple of your favorite nonprofits. We have to do that. We have enough money. Just like you would go to church, and I remember they used to have offerings, and they would do a neck up offering. Just so for whatever you spend on your neck up, did you give that during that month? From hair to this to that. What are we willing to pay for ourselves so we don't have to go out begging and asking for money from other people all the time. So we have it within ourselves. We just have to say, what do we believe in? And it's for us. But a lot of this is marketing too, and being persuasive and making sure that we're meeting community needs.
I'm gonna have to use that, okay? I am the bishop. I'm gonna have to use that, but I'm gonna say from the waist down because all these girls walking around with these Herman and Chanel bags, these red bottoms. Y'all can help the bishop out now. Let me stop. My team got some questions for you. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, let me allow ladies first. Sister Ayo, you have anything? Because I've got one question on the top of my mind, but I will allow you to go first, Sister Ayo.
Yeah, I have a host of list of questions actually, but no, but I think you should ask for the neck up because you know how much these weaves cost too. You know, them lashes and all of that. we need full body donations, okay? Full body, give from your heart overall. So one question: how do you feel? You know, a lot of nonprofits, they have volunteers and not really so much of paid staff. How do you feel about them actually hiring on a grant writer? Since you said that, you know, preparation for the year following, to start to prepare your applications ahead of time. How do you feel about actually hiring on a grant writer onto your nonprofit staff?
That's a good question. I consider it to be part of the infrastructure development and a necessary part of doing business in this field. So even though it's a nonprofit, there's the business side of the nonprofit. And so just like you need a professional accountant for your books, you need an IT person that's their specialty doing that. You need sometimes communications folks to get your image out there so it looks professional, it's saying the right thing, even wording and coaching in a lot of different ways. And I do believe in, of course, I do coaching, not just for myself, but really development of yourself. And so when you have volunteers, you must remember nonprofits are really based in the community, and the strongest nonprofits have very strong volunteer bases. So it's how we've done so much. It's how, yes, it's how we've done so much over the years. That is why the church, for example, has been the cornerstone in the African American community for so many years. So it's just an expansion of that because people will do and give to what they feel a part of, what they believe in, and what they feel represents them. But in terms of when we have to do this thing, that is a professional thing that needs something there, you can get something. But I do feel this balance there. I do feel that you can assess, first of all, is there somebody in your organization who may be able to do this? And if they're a volunteer, or a new staff sometimes, but definitely volunteers, because that's an event. Why do people volunteer? They like doing it, but some people might really want to enhance those skills and learn that and help it out for your organization, maybe for other things too, but at least they're learning also. And that helps our community. The more people that know how to do this, it helps our community. In Southern California, that was something we noticed and got some funding around training grant writers in Southern California because we were just missing out on so much. We had data to show that we received so much less funding per capita than other counties, such as like San Francisco, the Bay Area. And so a funder funded us to run a grant program to train grant writers in that region. So we have to self-identify where we need to grow in our infrastructure and infrastructure that works for us. Very often the grant writers do not look like us. So therefore, they're not writing about us. They're not writing towards us. They're not helping to change the narrative. And then sometimes if someone's just paid, they don't always have the heart for what. I think you should be able to read it and feel something in that application. And that's what makes a difference. So yes, I think it's necessary sometimes. But I would make sure that I get all my money's worth. Negotiate that contract, make sure you as a director and as many of your staff are learning along the way and being a part of it, because they'll grow and learn and you'll be able to start doing smaller grant applications on your own, depending on your writing skill and level and time.
That was my follow-up question. Is there like a set rate for services, or does it depend on, the amount of the grant or something like that for different grant writers, for you specifically, let's say that?
Oh, okay. Well, it's a field by mostly independent consultants that I know of, but sometimes you have grant writing organizations. So, I mean, with me, I don't do a lot of grant writing anymore. I'm going to tell you, I'm older, and I tell everybody, you are not in the grant game if you're not willing to stay up all night. And I need my sleep. I need my sleep. And so, but I do work with younger folks who I can guide, and they can stay up a little bit longer than me. And then I could guide them and make sure that quality is there, the strategy is there. I do the program planning and so on. And then I also I am doing more coaching with executives who have been doing this whole thing by themselves, and they need all the skills on how to hire, how to manage, how to put accountability systems in place. What are you paying? What are your rates? What's too much? All of that. And just saying what's a good rate and what is that person getting. A lot of times once you model it and help put something in place, then that team or that executive can then do that with future consultants too. So I've seen payment structures where there's a set rate. Okay, for this type of grant, I just do a flat rate of, I mean, these days, I don't know, maybe a few $1,000s. It just depends what's happening. I don't want to just say, but if you don't have at least, and you're just getting started, a few $1,000s, a few thousands of dollars, especially if you just look at every part. You could be a few $1,000s per program component. If you've never put together a full budget, somebody got to put that budget together. So if that's your grant writer, you need to pay for it, and you need to pay for it to be done right. Okay. And then if you don't have good wording for your programs, you don't have good program design, every one of those could be at least a few $1,000s. So just really, you're not just wanting scribble on the paper. You want strategy. You want something you can use before. You want this to be your guidebook and something that helps you. Even the research, what program model are you using and why? What theory, what model, what study are you applying that makes your program better than others? So you're paying for all those levels of intricacy.
The importance of a team.
And speaking of tools, because again, going back on your experience, I know you've probably seen the process of grant writing evolve over the last couple of decades. Now that artificial intelligence is now a big thing, are you seeing that AI being used in this space? And if so, how is it benefiting the process?
Very interesting. One, I think it can be a tool to help us. I don't use it. It keeps coming up every week. It keeps coming up with somebody I'm working with, and I've seen it used really well, and I've seen it used in an interesting way. So the thing with AI, it is artificial intelligence. So we'll give you some things. I haven't seen it give you everything, but I think for us, it could be a great tool to help smaller nonprofits get on their feet and get something going. What I'm seeing with artificial intelligence is, one, you have to remember it is pulling from information that is out there. Okay, so it has to have something to pull from to then pull it together. Okay, so it's pulling from things that are out there, and then it is, or what you give it. Okay, so you have to know what you are putting into it in order to get it to put it back in some kind of written way. It was interesting. Someone showed me a draft. They said, "Oh, I drafted this and that," and I said, "Oh, let's look at it. Let's see." And this was just this week, and I could tell. I said, "Did you draft this?" Because it was really well written. So they write well. But I just said it was so thorough, it was so much. But I also could hear from knowing them their voice, and it was. And their voice happens to be very bubbly and very nice and very and this was a positive way. It was really cute. It was like a customer service kind of survey. And I said, gosh, you're almost thanking them forever coming to you. Just got to make it brief and, shorten it or something like that. So we went through that. It was funny, but that person's personality and bubbliness came out. And everything they wanted to say was definitely in there. So you still want to say paring it down and so on. And again, so to get started with this is what we do, you still need to know these are our 3 core services. This is how we do it. Or we use this model, and maybe to pull something from the internet to help you with that model. But you have to give it enough for it to work with. The other thing is that might help you with your main game plan, and then make sure you know how to wrap the whole thing and the strategy together. But I think it's a great tool, and I think it can help a lot of people who otherwise may not have it. So you have most executive directors who've gotten started, they're natural marketers. So they could talk for days. So man, if you get them in front of those AIs and they know their program well, it could probably help them and their teams pull together some resources that they may not have had otherwise. So definitely try it. Yeah.
I definitely need to try it because my personality is not bubbly. I am a dismantler. It might all come out in the right and go, oh no, we're not giving the bishop anything. I don't know. AI might help me out. I don't know if it's going to help you out, bubbly folks, but me, I don't know. I might need the AI. Well, I got a couple of questions before we get you out of here. I know it's getting late. You talked about the board developing, how important the board is to organizations, trying to recruit those board folks, like you said, from different sectors, different professional background, could be a challenge. And I know it's big in the grant writing. How do you really go about recruiting those qualified board members to help exercise your board in a way that is impactful to your grant writing and to the development of an organization?
That's a really good question. Usually it starts with your own network. And again, when you started, so we're getting back to how you start a nonprofit organization and then develop it over time. So how you started usually is to find those people, that small group of people that you can say, this is the vision and mission that I'm believing in. Do you believe in this? Are you with me? And then if so, you all sit and go over that together. How to find them. Again, when you're managing an organization, I like to make sure I have a couple areas covered on my board. I like the number 5 on the board, if possible. When it starts getting more, it's just a lot of people to coordinate with, but sometimes it's very helpful. But finance is the first thing. I want to know that I have people on finance. Now, sometimes just having the name, a financial person on your board, it's just good. It helps funders believe that, oh, they're fine. They're a financial person and they have to report things a certain way. And so if they're putting their name behind it, and the higher up they are in a large organization or company, the CEO of Wells Fargo or something, then or some officer, then that says they put their thumb on there. It means it's less likely it's more likely to be run fiscally well. So I'd like to have a good finance person. I like program people that know what I do. So I look at my target audience, my target clients. And if I'm serving mothers, I want to have the voice of some mothers that know the work, but also have some professional experience. I look for people that and if there's a reason why all these years I haven't had my own nonprofit organization, because I tell people it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So it's important to say what kind of board do you want and what kind of board members are you looking for? Some people are really big names. They're not going to come and help you write things, but they might help get donations, and their names might be really good for your grant applications, and they'll have good governance and oversight. So they're going to come the minimum amount of times, but you do want that. And but if you need worker bees, for example, someone to really help do that, you have to ask for that. Say, I really need someone to help me and dedicate 5 hours a week and has good writing skills and people skills, or can meet with funders in addition to me. Are you willing to do that? Do you have the time and capacity to do that? So again, so on their skill set that they can bring, on their title, sometimes on their position, maybe it's of a foundation that believes in what you do, but they don't fund an organization like yours. But the fact that they have the insight on what happens with funding is really good. And people who are out in the community. So anytime you see people speaking and have their finger on the pulse, and some of the people behind the scenes, there's plenty of administrative people who have a heart for the community, but people don't ask them because they're not on the forefront all the time. But they are really good folks. So I just ask, look in the networks, at your groups where people also volunteer, your churches, your community organizations, put it out there and just use announcements. I hardly ever see announcements, but there used to be some statewide boards to get African Americans on different boards, and people have gotten trained over the years too. So maybe I could look some of that up and have that as a resource.
Yeah, that'll be good because I'm tired of yelling at these folks. You know, all of these people who walk around with their PhDs and their sororities and their fraternities and how great they are, but they don't want to give back to the community. We don't need those people in our community. We need the people who really want to give back and support the community. Don't wait until the board is all the way through. No, when I was looking for board members, you know, people would say, oh, your board is not developed all the way yet. I don't want to have to come and work. You just want to wait till I'm great? Is that what our people do out there? This is what we got to change, okay? Because I'm always calling these people out. So I guess I just got a couple other people who call me. They got some good board people, and these people are just sitting around. It's like, come on.
So you're picking up a whole lot of subjects in that. And so if you're yelling at your board members with their PhDs and calling them out, then I think we have about 5 other series of communications, management training, PR, public relations, just being plain nice.
No, I'm not talking about my board. I'm talking about the people in the community that needs to be on boards. Okay, these are the people that's walking around on social media talking about their degrees and all of their sororities and fraternities and how great they are, but they never do nothing for the people. I'm talking to those people, all the people that's out there watching that snuck in at night, okay, that wanted to see Marthea, get the information, but they don't want to give back. Give back to the community, okay? Come on, good people. Let's do better. Let's help uplift the community. But one last thing, because I know we got to get out of here. One last thing, because grant writing is so very important. Mm-hmm. You know, and when we talk about Black-led organizations, you know, Latin and Brown community folks, you know, this is one of the struggling parts of all of it. How do we create that pipeline from your perspective? How do we create that pipeline? Because I'm starting to find all of these disparities, all these issues that we're lacking in our community when it comes to organizations. And I'm thinking, like, how do we create this? If this is number of things always come up with smaller nonprofits and medium-sized nonprofit, right? Strategic planning, grant writing, and fundraising. Since this is such a predominant need within our organization structures, how do we create that pathway? How do we create the next generation of young people to get them influenced to get in this? Because we can't wait for anybody else to help us. You know, we got a lot of work that we need in our community. We are probably the most impacted communities of all, but we see the same lacking consistency across nonprofit organizations when it comes to developing and growing. And those areas of strategic planning, fundraising, and grant writing. How do we create the next generation of young people? Or how do we create organizations to help build up that pathway to get more folks intrigued? All these talented writers out here is taking journals all day and noting. How do we get them involved to do this? How do we create that?
That's such a great question. And that's one of the reasons why I'm loving this work at this time in my life, to just get the word out there. I'll be doing more videos to bring people together. It's interesting because when I talk about grants and fundraising, that's a hot topic and everybody wants to come and hear about that. But the truth of the matter is, it's all the other 10 to 12 components of the organization that have to be in place. Everything from leadership training to skill building in a variety of areas, to your infrastructure around finance, human resources, technology, and so on. There's training that I was so blessed to be able to go to college, and then have mentors and people that saw something in me, and some of my first jobs out of college, and with a big foundation that had very formal training. I learned they put so much into us in like our early 20s around how to communicate with people. What are all the personality styles? How do you do sales? How do you write? Every way how to respond to an email. You're just learning the political side of things, meaning politically, what to say, what not to say, how to speak, how to dress, how everything. Your training, you can make it your own over time, but some of that base training, many of us haven't had. A lot of us that have started things, we've done it because we are passionate, we're influential, and we can get people behind us, but we do need those base training in all the areas. And so the marketing and all those different areas. And that's where we do have to pull on sometimes our allies, because we need people to, how do we get data and infographics and videos and various communication tools and websites? And do we have enough of us in the community doing it and at the level we need to have the best marketing and PR happening for us, for example? And we're getting data to pull together our evaluation and the statistics that show us. Because if you don't know how to pull data, and if you don't have the right people pulling your data, they will pull it all kinds of ways. You have to be at to run an evaluation service, and we have to control the power. It was Mr. Don Betro. He ran a very large organization, and it spread all throughout the Inland Empire. And I asked him, I said, sir, can you just help me know? I was very young in my career. Help me know how to, spread what we're doing. Because I saw him growing and buying buildings. And then we rented from him as a nonprofit organization. And he just shared, he goes, you have to have the power of the pen. So even what you're doing now is the new power of the pen. It's the newsletter. It's the getting the message out. It's the word. It's the framing of the narrative, what you put on the table and what you don't. The other in this day and age is information. We have to have control over the data and the story that's told. We need more evaluators. We need more statisticians. When I worked years ago, I'll just say, you can have the power to, when you take a data set, to mention or not mention something. People do it all the time with what they choose to focus on with data. We must be at every level. So that's why even the link on there to talk about high school programs, we have to, a lot of times our youth aren't always mentored to know which fields to go into. So we do have to do just what you said, starting that pipeline, talk to funders and foundations about the pipeline that were needed. Just on my level, I'm like, how, people don't usually want to pay for this, but I can look at organizations. I said, their middle management is not being trained. They're not being trained. They're dedicated, but they're not being trained. Everything from how to run your teams, how to run a meeting, how to put systems in place, how to do tracking tools and reporting to funders and keep it up and market and so on. And then sometimes I have to be real, because some of us have been in positions of power. This is our first time ever being in positions of power. We want to put our thumb on others that are coming up in the organization if they're doing really well or might appear, they're doing something really well too. We can't do that. And that's like you spoke of earlier. We have to let people shine and let people grow and let people do what they do, especially when they're committed to growing our organization. We have to pay them enough whenever we can. We have to be clear. We have to be honest. We have to be respectful in how we talk to each other. So team building. And this is a fundamental thing that I focus on. People think it's so simple, but you have to master it. You can change any organization by mastering the meetings that you have. Do you have meetings? Who's at the table? What are you talking about? What's the ongoing agenda? And how do you track it? And I had a friend, and he used to say, he said, it's not what you expect from people, it's what you inspect from people. Meaning, show up, what did you do, how's it going, make it a positive environment. But that training needs to be there deep and wide. And we have to say that's the infrastructure development. And we do have to let agencies know and our funders know and foundations know that for capacity building, we need the money for training and training deep and wide. And then executives really have some kind of succession planning, because think of it, you want to know you're going to do better. You're going to be doing more. You're going to be expanding. You're going to open up another site. So you need to be training the next 5 managers. Everybody needs 5 underneath them that they are grooming. And for us in our community, we're so used to not having that much that we always want to be the boss. You don't have to be the boss. Be good at being what you do on a team. We're just better together if we're stronger. We can't have everybody in the top seat. We just can't. But that top seat that top seat will make or break. Leadership makes or breaks everything. So are you promoting your people? Are you making them feel good? Are you helping them gain skills? Why should they stay under you? Because any good person, they're really good, they can go somewhere else or they can do something on their own. So why should they stay under you? And that's where you get into, there's the whole new series on this one, which is the hierarchy of needs, of psychological needs, why people stay and do things that they do. If you look at that hierarchy, what needs are they getting from your organization that they're not getting anywhere else? The needs of belonging, of someone validating them, of their purpose work. So you look at something like that, and every manager needs to master the hierarchy of psychological needs and make sure you're meeting it in the workplace.
I like that. It's very powerful. I need some training on that, okay? Because I believe in it. I got to push back because I'm about the God work. You God fear women, right? I'm about the God work. I don't want people around my organization that's I want people that care about people.
Yeah.
See, because the minute you get people in here that's worried about titles and who's this and that, it just seems to always go work to the left, right? But when you get people who care about people, see, they don't care about all stuff. I'm doing this for the people. It's just an opportunity through my organization to get to the people. That's what I want. I don't know. It's simple things. I just think it always worked. I think my grandmother did a good job of just be a lover of the people.
That's right.
Everything you move for the people. Because when you start attaching it to titles and money and all this, it just gets construed.
Yeah.
So I lead my people for the people. Don't love the work for me. Don't love with both sides of the conversation. Love the people. Because when you're doing it for the people, it seems to always work out right. But when you come in with the ulterior motives of climbing the ladder or doing this or trying to, it just never works, community. Stick to the script. Look up to the higher spirits. Talk to your ancestors. Tell them to lead the way. I'll listen to them. I don't know about these other people. I just follow the word. I follow the people. Come with me. If you want to lead and work with the people, yeah, we got some room for growth.
So there's a good point there. Like, people may come in, but that's where your screening comes in to make sure people are aligned with you. But for leaders, it's their role to create the environment, create that environment that helps to set the tone. It helps people feel validated. We scramble for titles and validation because we're not validated in other places in our life and in this world. Okay.
I agree with you. It's a lot of people in their feelings. I'm a developer. I'm looking for the multipliers out there. Okay. I'm trying to multiply. I need the multipliers that like to just do abundantly great things. But Miss Marthea, it's always great to talk to you. For y'all don't know, this queen's just been doing a lot for Black folks, community folks, all folks, but just, my experience walking in with you, a great assessor, a great understander. We thank you for your leadership. We thank you for reaching down and lifting folks up the ladder, being willing to be open to share this great information. Okay, community, this type of conversations cost a lot of money. I couldn't afford these conversations this long, okay? But see, when you have favor, she has favor. When you reach up to the ancestors and to the higher spirit, and it's in your aura to help people, blessings always come. She's reaching down to you all today in the community to make sure you get the right information, make sure you on the right track. And we thank you for that, because so many people don't come back. Some people, they climb the corporate ladder, they get to the top of the education ladder, and they just nose is so high in the air that they forget the reason why they did all of this. It's not to go around and brag, it's to give back. Yes,
people help me all along the way. Yeah. And so it's up to us to do that. So I just want everybody, adopt 3 other people and just say, let's do this together. Let's encourage each other, because we're not getting in enough. It really starts with the words that we use and how we treat each other. So have compassion and grace, and then add our skill and tenacity with it as well.
But I do agree with you. I'm hiring a professional validator. Okay, a lot of people need validators. I'm going to hire me a couple of those people. All right, we need a couple.
Please do.
But with that being said, we got to let you go. Before we let you go, is there any folks that you want to thank? Because I know 20 years of the work, all of the amazing accolades that you possess, and just how you are. I know there's some people along the way that just keep you inspired and been there through all the ups and downs. So I want to give you that time tonight to just give your flowers to them. Shout out any of the businesses that you want folks to know. Community. Okay, don't just sit here and get the free information. Yeah. Find some money in your budget. Reach out to her website. Set up a session. Let her strategic plan. Let's also do reciprocity. Okay, community. You're getting some free sauce. You get your little funding. You get some other funding. Call the sister. Don't just take the information and get a foundation grant. Don't support, because we're going to support her. I'm gonna reach out to her and make sure she comes help me with my training and my hierarchy. Okay.
So I'm glad you said that, because I was just thinking, I said, oh gosh, there's some people I should have thanked, and I don't ever want to miss people, so I'm not going to call names, but I do want to just say, of course, my family, I thank God, because I asked the Lord to watch over me and guide what I was doing this year. My part of my testimony is I got sick a couple of years ago, and I'm like, I'm not sure how long I could do some of this work because it's so taxing. And then I work, and then I don't just have a few clients through Community Connexus. And so, but it's such important. It's such my heart work that I wanted to do this. So I want to thank the partnership that I've had with Black Female Project, PJS Consultants. I got to meet you through the Dreamkeeper Project. I just thank the mayor and the San Francisco Human Rights Commission for all the work that they're doing to say Black people are important, and investing in our African American community and its leadership is important. It just touches my heart. There's on both sides of the Bay, we have so many advocates, our county supervisors, and so much leadership coming up. So I'm very thankful for that. I have family, I have friends. I thank you all. I see some of them in here, different business networks, school networks that have encouraged me along the way when it hasn't been easy. And so I just want to thank people that gave me my first things. And it was some Caucasian people, some of my first bosses that just said, you can do it. We see something in you. And there's leadership skills in you. And that really touched me. I needed somebody to tell me that. I've had people pull me to the side when I was doing something wrong and say, you need to do something better. I've had people forgive me if I didn't do something right the first time. And so I just thank them for that. People said, I'll charge this much. And I didn't know how much to charge. And they said, you're giving way more than other people give. We're going to pay you this. And I said, what? And well, thank you, Lord, but thank that person who was used as the vessel to help me during that time. And so we have to give each other grace. And I just am appreciative of this platform, to you, John. Got to talk to Angelique a lot over the last few weeks. Just some of the work with Dreamkeeper, working with Jay Maldonado and our team has been really good. The people that are supporting me in my little growing Community Connexus is part of my work as I move towards retirement. I really just want to do community work. So you will see some YouTube videos and sharing of information. I share it because we need to know it and build off of it. You always need that wisdom and guidance. My mentors, my coaches, Coach Brenda, who was my first mentor, and she's the one that said, here's how you will be good both in business and applying your life values. And it was a Christian-based values. And I had never seen my personal values be mixed with the business setting. And I'm like, I can do both. I don't have to put one down to do the other. And it helps me be my better self. And so I love that. I love my other coach, Coach Mo out of Chicago. And she has a book, doesn't sound very Christian, but it's called Manifest That Shit. And it's good. And so look her up. Excuse my French. But that's the name of the book. And I've had some really good people in my corner. So I'm just thankful of them. And that's it.
Your French is okay. Okay. We don't get all crazy, but we got to keep it authentic. This is for our community. This is our space. All of our allies watching. I always say, if you want to be a part of this, you got to be okay. If you want to come to the barbecue, you might hear some things, see some things that you might not be comfortable with. But
Mhm.
We keep it real here. We're not CNN, we're not Fox News. We're for the people. Okay. Ms. Marthea is one of those people for the community. Make sure you reach out to your friend in Chicago. Get her to come on. We want to continue to keep uplifting Black businesses and all this information to our community because it's needed. And we will partner with you. Okay. Both sides of the conversation. We are about the word. We don't just talk about it. We're going to partner with you and spend our Black dollars so you can help us fast track what we're doing because, again, we understand the importance of communication, strategic planning, grant writing. We want to impact our community, okay? We just coming off the ground. We're infants, okay? This is our 3rd year in operation. A lot of things to learn. I'm just talking what the Lord tell me to do, okay? I'm just stepping in his path. I'm listening to my ancestor. I don't know if it's Frederick Douglass or Martin. Somebody keeps pulling on me. Every time I want to say enough's enough, somebody just say, oh, I got to keep going. So again, thank you. Keep going. As you get close to your retirement, thank God to even get to that point, right? We have so many things happening. It's just great to see folks still advancing and still willing to do the work. So thank you for your contribution to our community, to uplifting our people, changing the narrative, making it better, being that change maker in the community. And again, presenting tonight with great information. It's very, very important. So looking forward to partnering with you in the future and making sure that we help uplift your community, connect. We need this in our community. All right. We want to be sustainable. Okay. We don't just, everybody want to get into nonprofits. Y'all heard Ms. Marthea. It's not easy. I keep telling y'all, the bishop only get 2 hours of sleep. This work is hard. When you're trying to build an airplane and fly it, it's not always the great idea, community. But if you have the dedication, if you have the heart, you have the love inside your heart for the people, you always excel and get to the top with everything you're doing. So with that being said, Ms. Marthea, I know it's late. We're going to let you get out of here. We're going to connect you, okay? This is just the start of something great. We're going to make sure all the folks who are working with us and trying to build, who's looking for these resources and need that support. I've seen some folks saying they want to bring you in for the rest of their team. Ms. Tiffany Hall will connect you, Tiffany, and make sure her information is up there. Reach out to her, okay? Get connected.
And thing is, we are also building up our network. I want to, even for this presentation, I want to thank Danielle and Jordan and Araceli, part of my team, and Anya for their help and just helping me get things together. And I might not always be there, but we are growing our network of African American consultants, people of color consultants. So if you or someone you know have a good resource or a good lead, please let us know because we need to build those. You've had a great experience, a good grant writer or a good trainer. Please let us know because we're trying to grow our network as well and share that. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure tonight. I'm sorry, community, I was late, but I'm here. Okay. Things happen, but I'm here. You got some great information. Mark and Io's been holding it down. But thank you again. If y'all want to say any parting words to her, we got to let her get out of here. Say it now so she can go peacefully, gracefully, and know that she's appreciated and loved here at both sides of the conversation.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of your information. Very thorough, very thorough. I have a whole notebook full right now. So I really appreciate it. And even the differentiating between, private LLC grants and, nonprofits and understanding the difference, but the importance of a team and everything that you shared this evening. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you and the work you do for our community.
Thank you.
And Queen, I just have to say you are an absolute gift to the community. The wisdom, the knowledge, the insight that you have. I know a lot of people are going to go back and rewatch this broadcast and they're going to get so many foundational nuggets that they're going to be able to take and run with. So I want to salute you for that. And just one thing that you did mention, and I'm glad the bishop picked up on this, your heart for the people is absolutely authentic, but it's your knowledge and skill set, the deep understanding that you have of how things work when it comes to building teams and funding organizations is something that we as a people need to really hone in on, because we do have a lot of passionate people who have a zeal to do things, but we just don't have the proper knowledge to execute. And I'm glad you highlighted that. And that is what we need to merge together more in our community. So thank you for sharing with us this evening.
You. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Y'all gonna make me cry. Okay. So thank you. I appreciate y'all. And let us know. Contact me if you have anything on communityconnexus.com. And I look forward to continuing the work in the community.
And Marthea will be reaching out to you. I already told Angelique to reach out to you. We'll be connecting. And again, we're going to spend our Black dollars with our people to really help change this narrative. So thank you again. Have a blessed evening and tell your family. It's just amazing. Just a light on our community. Keep glowing and keep doing the work you're doing.
Thank you. Have a good
All right.
night.
Have a good evening. All right, community, there you have it. Phenomenal queen. You see, you always talk about both sides of the conversation. We always try to bring the sauce, the information, the great minds to the platform, to the people. I don't know. Tonight, community, you were blessed. Okay. That's all I can say. You was blessed. If you missed some of it, go back, check out the presentation. Great information, great gems, highlighting all of the things that you need to know in this journey. If you're trying to start a nonprofit or for profit, if you're trying to get into grants, great structural information. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. With that being said, we got to get out of here. It's late. All right. I think I caused a lot of it. I don't know if I'm gonna be okay tomorrow, Mark. I'm kind of getting old, and I got hit today. I got a little whiplash. I'm like,
we're gonna be praying for you, Bishop. Praying for you.
Know, I don't know, but I made it today. Okay, community. If you need to know what commitment looks like, okay, I could have laid on the side of the freeway and just said it's over. All right, but I got back up. I kept marching. I had to get back to the studio. I had to come see Miss Marthea. I had to come see The Voice. I had to come see Io. Community, I had to hear from you. I'm here, okay? The bishop is here. I'm okay. Keep praying for me because tomorrow morning I'm going to need some Epsom or something. I don't know, but I'll be all right. But Brother Mark, as we part ways today like we do every show, give supporting words to the people. What did you see? What did you hear? It was great tonight. Give them something.
Well, first of all, man, just the wisdom that the sister brought. Again, sometimes we get so caught up in the details and culturally, we were kind of conditioned to stay away from really intricate paperwork and processes when it comes to funding, because a lot of us don't want to feel like we got our hand out or we're begging the system to give us money for what we need to do, because we were kind of thought of we're supposed to bootstrap everything on our own. But there are people out here who have resources, who have a heart, but just don't have the time or the legs to do things. And they will pay people who have the right structure and skill sets, but just lack the funds. So if we can connect these two ends together, then we can use these as a tool to help liberate and empower our people and build our community back up to where it needs to be. And I think that is something that everybody should go back and rewatch this at least 2 to 3 times to get this information if you want to consider getting into the grant space or trying to get funding for your cause.
Man, very great information. Well put together, Brother Mark. Always like your perspective and your understanding, because it's just needed. And you give that clear communication, and just thank you, brother, for being here, picking up, and just keep walking and marching and uplifting the people, brother. So thank you. And, looking forward to this Sunday's conversation. Sister Io, my co-host, what's going on? Io, holla at the people.
This evening was really breathtaking, actually. Her thorough presentation, just the time and patience and everything that she took to actually break down each and every part of her presentation was so, I'm literally sitting here with a whole note full of everything. I'm definitely going to be one to come back and watch, just to get those little gems. But the importance of team building, especially when writing grants, like you said, to piggyback off what Mark said, in our community, we were kind of conditioned not to ask for handouts, So even thinking about asking and going to big corporations or, having to go to our allies to ask for that support can be a little challenging, but it is all about the leadership. And I, for one, am very appreciative and very honored to be a part of this team. Even the small, minute positions, every little bit adds up. Like she said, every contribution adds up. Those 5, those 10s all of those add up to getting us to where we, the end goal. But there's no end goal when it comes to the work that we do, because our community is forever changing. And for us to be able to pour into our community the way that we do, it is such a blessing. And the importance of donations, the importance of these grants to get us to be able to do the work and have that little leg up is so much more valuable than the dollar amount itself, because the work itself is what really has no price point. So I'm very appreciative of this hidden gem on an educational Thursday. Thank you again, Miss Marthea, for everything. We appreciate you. Good night, community.
Well, I'm going to just say this. I'm not afraid to ask, okay? The bishop, I need some support out there. All of my allies, all of the, I'm not even going to say it, foundations, all of the philanthropy.
Get the cardboard boxes, right?
I got the cardboard. I need some help, okay? I'm not ashamed. The bishop needs some help. I need technical assistance. I need capacity building. I need employee. I need it all. I'm knocking on your door. Make sure when I knock on the door, don't just look at the peephole and see, oh, it's the bishop out there. Open the door. Let me in. I need some help. I need to impact my people. I need to uplift the people of the community. I'm not ashamed. Okay, community? I'm trying to help my people. But again, with helping the people, I need some good people around me. I don't need the title muggers. I don't need the people that got big egos. I need some people that love people. You want to give back? You want to help the bishop? Let's walk side to side and bless the people. That's the people I want around me. I don't need all the other stuff. I'm looking for some people that want to help impact people, change the narrative for people, put some smiles on some people's face. Because y'all know when I come around, it's just smiles. When Ayo goes around, there's smiles. When y'all see Mark on the screen, there's smiles. When you see both sides in the community, woo, people are smiling. They like, oh, the bishop is here. Both sides is here. They about to bless us. Yeah. If you want us to bless, come help. Be a blessing. Maybe you're not the one that's walking in the community. Maybe you don't have hands-on with the people. Maybe you just got the cash. I'm asking. Bless us abundantly, all of my allies out there. I know some people watching. Oh, we better get a bishop somebody. I'm knocking on your door. Don't close the door on me, okay? Don't be peeking through the peephole. What is the bishop looking for today? I'm looking for some support, okay? I need some help. We're asking for the support. We're asking for the help. And thank all of the folks who continue to support and help. And we can always use more. But with that being said, it's getting late. I got to get us out of here. I'm in pain. I don't know. I got a little whiplash. Something happened today in my accident. I don't know. I thought I was fine. I guess I'm not. But the bishop will get the benediction out here so we can get out of here today. So with that being said, tonight, community, you have been blessed. You got the secret sauce that some folks pay a lot of money to get. Tonight, Marthea came onto the scene. She was cooking tonight, community. She was putting all of the recipes in the pot to make the gumbo. I don't know if you've seen it all. Go back and look, because you need the right ingredients and the spices to get the gumbo just right. Tonight, she got the gumbo right. It's looking good. She cooked up some great information for us. And any great recipe, you need patience. When you're a cook, you need patience. You have to prepare. You have to organize. And then you put it in the pot, and then the gumbo comes out good. I'm just saying, community, that's how you cook a pot of gumbo. Tonight, what you seen was experience, professionalism. Her presentation was organized. Her information was clear. Her communication was pure. It was transparent. I hope you was able to grab all of it from the screen. Maybe you missed the spot. Maybe the phone rang. Maybe you got distracted because your pot was burning. I don't know. Go back and take a look at the information, the gems, the jewels, the information that she was giving to the community. So many times, small nonprofits fail because they don't have the right plan. So many times we take our passion, what we love, and we don't know how to put it together. Tonight, you got a blueprint. Anytime you build anything, you have to have a blueprint, right? You go to build a house, there's a blueprint. It's something that gives you the steps on how everything is going to go. It's like a puzzle. You got to be able to put everything together. Tonight, you got a foundation. You got an understanding. The blueprint has been read. It's been laid out. Now you have to build it up. You have to reach back out to Miss Marthea and set up a time. You know, spend some of your black dollars to lift up your organizations, to lift up your business. It's okay to get coaching. It's okay to reach out for somebody to help. You just got to do your part. Pick up the phone. check out her email, reach out, look at what she's doing, find a way that you can connect. All we're trying to do here at both sides of the conversation is intentionally bring the information, bring the resources, education to our people. That's all we did, was promise the people. We will connect you with the people that we connect with so that we can make sure our community get the information that sometimes our community just doesn't get. It's not that hard. Reciprocity is the key. Community, let me say it again. Reciprocity is the key. When you're asking for help and you get the support you need to uplift you, don't forget to reach back and give back to those who support you, and then support others. We're only going to get to where we go by building the Black ecosystem. It takes all of us to feel and fund and do the things that we need to uplift our community organizations. Sometimes the nonprofits or the community are the very resources that keep our communities thriving, keep our communities going forward. We need more organizations who are organized, prepared, building the next leaders. We need grant writers. We need all kinds of folks to impact our community. There's a disparity that's happening across all angles that impact our community. Make sure you are doing your part to be a community leader, to be a community supporter, uplift each other, find the resources, find these very gems that we keep presenting to you, and you be a part of the process. We are talking about changing the narrative. In order to change the narrative, things that's been going on the same way can no longer go. Tonight, you found a new way. You found some new information. Now do your part. Give back. Let's change the narrative. Let's work together. Let's continue to uplift each other, work in solidarity, community. I heard it tonight. We just have to uplift each other. Be patient. We could do this, community. It's not that hard. It's no big U's and I's and little me's. I'm not above you or below you. I'm just walking with you. Let's heal together. Let's uplift each other. There's enough riches in the pot that we say crabs are clapping in to make great gumbo. We got the recipe. Now it's up to you and me. Lead with love, lead with compassion, lead with empathy and humility, lead with the ancestors, lead with the Lord. I don't know, whatever it is, find something you can grab a hold to and keep stepping and standing, community. If you can't, the bishop will. I will step and stand with you. Let's go. Let's change the narrative. Let's do this. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We got to get out of here. This Sunday is our next Sunday conversation. We're talking about social media. We're talking about relationships. How are relationships impacting social media? All those little hearts, all those little likes, them inboxes, them DMs. Are they the reason we can't have Black love? I don't know. We're going to find out this week. It's going to be a great conversation. I know it's going to be some hot spots. I still feel like the volcano haven't erupted yet. Maybe this weekend is going to be the eruption. I don't know. We'll find out. Brother Marcus here. Io's here. We'll have a great group of panelists up here talking about this social media. Is it okay to keep your boot private? Is it okay to display them? I don't know. We're going to find out this week. All I know is tune in this Sunday, 4 o'clock. Looking forward to seeing you all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to find out the recipe to uplift our community. With that being said, good evening, community. Be safe out there. Okay, I got hit by somebody that didn't even have insurance. Get your insurance. Get your finances in order. Don't be driving on the roads with no insurance. I don't know. I'm just saying, we're going to help some people. But again, thank you all for tuning in. We love you. We'll see you soon. The bishop, we'll see you. I'll be out there. Have a blessed evening, everybody. Good night now.
Good night.